what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happen? Because you guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast for the MS City Rocks, Rock and Metal Thrive. Hey, everybody, happy Thursday. It is November 4th, and got another returner coming to the podcast today, but this time we're talking all about the brand new album from the band Resolve, coming out on November 26th. But before we go into that, I want to thank our new sponsor. Wait, we got another sponsor? Holy shit, we do. Hell yeah. I want to thank our sponsor, Custom Debuts. So Custom Debuts is a company that creates a lot of cool things around music. A lot of different custom poster products. So you can get classic album print covers, stuff like that. I'll put pictures in the podcast for you guys as well, on the YouTube video. Classic vinyl lyric prints, you got the vinyl and you've got the lyrics of a certain song around there, or you have a cool custom spiral one. You'll see some of the pictures there. I have not gotten one yet. If I am going to get one though, let's see. What albums would I end up picking? Taking a look at these. Well, probably going to be The Suffer and the Witness by Rise Against. Probably going to do something like the Silver Scream or Welcome to Horror Silver Scream number 2 from Ice Nine Kills. Maybe a Beartooth one, maybe one of the fun. I don't know, but it's going to be one of those. And when I get it, it's going to end up being put up here. I think these are kind of cool because they do have some that are more the hip hop pop stuff that is you can just buy them normally. They mass produce them, but they are customizable as well. I mean, hell, if I go on here and click on the cool the custom album print one, it says album and artist name. Okay, let's see what goes on here. And how they end up working is you fill out the information. They send you a proof of design within 2 days. And if you like it, or you can approve it, or if you can take advantage of their unlimited free revisions, and you can kind of potentially talk about okay, what revisions you want made to this. So you can kind of make sure something comes up with it, and then you receive your custom print within 2 to 5 days on either museum grade paper, or you can make them aluminum as well. So you do have a chance to really make what you want. And when it comes to us, we got a deal for you. So at checkout, use the code CPP10. Link description below as well for you to click on that. At checkout, again, CPP10 for 10% off your order. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that happens. So thank you, Custom Debuts, new sponsor. So we've had Robin from Resolve on the podcast back in June to talk about their single C6 Sailor. Now, that song is on the new album, Between Me and the Machine. Comes out on November 26th. Rob and I get to jump all into the album. We can talk about their first live show back. Again, we go into the album. We talk about 2 songs, so the Emerald Skies and the titular song Between Me and the Machine, how they're connected, how they bring out such this greatness of the overall theme of the album. Plus, we talk about some other things. Robin tells me something about these songs that I never even realized. I talk to him, and he picks on some certain things, especially when it comes to Anthony's vocals, or lead singer, about when they were recorded, how that emotion comes through, and how it makes these songs so much more impactful. So please welcome Robin from the band Resolve back to the Chord Progression Podcast. Screw it. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. Back in June, this man appeared in the podcast, Robin from the band Resolve, and we had a great time talking about the single that was out at that time, C6 Sailor. But now, they've got a brand new album coming out on November 26th called Between Me and the Machines, and well, when I found out it was coming out, I couldn't help myself. I want to talk about the whole entire thing. I wanted to bring Robin back on, so hey, here we are. So Robin, welcome back.
Hi everyone, thanks Kevin for having me again. That's very nice to be back.
Dude, it's
very
great
excited to talk about the album too. So
I'm excited to talk about with you as well. But man, it's great to have you back. How's everything been going the past 5 months?
Well, you know what? It's been going pretty well. And actually, I remember us talking about shows starting to come back back in June when we first spoke. And you know what? 2 days ago, so today is Sunday, and on Friday we were playing our first show back in Germany. So that's been so awesome, and so a lot of work to get to this point too. But yeah, the past few days, the past few weeks have been really awesome here, and we all feel extremely re-energized and everything. So that's awesome. Yeah.
So you played your first show since the whole entire pandemic 2 days before we recorded this podcast?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, first off, congratulations.
Yeah, it's so fresh off the, how do you say it? All fresh out of the oven. So that's very nice, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, first off, congrats on being able to play your first live show since the pandemic, over 18 months since the whole entire shutdown thing happened, about 19 months actually for you guys. And I got to ask to just start out because, again, first live show back. You guys got a brand new album coming out in the next month after that live show. What was the
Yeah.
anticipation like for the show? What was the energy like when you went to go play that show? How did this whole entire thing end up playing out from when you guys got to Germany to going through the show to just the feeling afterwards of, holy crap, we just played our first show in over a year and a half?
Well, it's been quite a roller coaster because so this show was very last minute for us. Basically, we got the offer, I think maybe like 3 weeks to 1 month before the show. We hadn't rehearsed in literally forever. I think like maybe 4 or 5 months. And at first we were like, okay, there's no way we can do this show, even though we really wanted to, because it was a cool offer, a cool like it was a festival warm-up day. So yeah, just cool bands, and we knew the show was gonna be awesome, but we thought, I don't know, like I don't think we can pull it off, especially because we had also to shoot a music video for a single that was coming out the very same day as the show. So we also released a song like 2 days ago. But like we gave it maybe 24 hours to like sleep on it and everything, and we were like, now we have to do it. Like it's been way too long, and we don't even know like when the next show could be in the near future. So we just worked our asses off for the last like 3 weeks or so. We were quite nervous going into Germany because, well, first it was sort of a long drive, about 8 hours. So there was that. It was the first time we were bringing like a front of house guy with us. We had a whole new like technical setup, a whole new like amp system and everything. But it all went honestly amazingly well. Like not a single problem. The venue was packed. The crowd was singing along, because it was also like our first time appearing ever since like being signed to a label and starting to release some singles and getting some sort of traction. So honestly, like I wish I had a single bad thing to say about the last like 2 or 3 days, but it's been so awesome. So yeah, I really can't complain. And yeah, the show was great and people were awesome, killing it. Like, yeah, not a single bad thing to say. It's amazing. We love Germany.
Well, for your first live show back, not having a single bad thing to say, I gotta say, is honestly incredible. To
We didn't expect it. We expected it like to have at least some sort of problems, but honestly, we even played great. Like we recorded the show on our console and listened back to it earlier, and I mean, yeah, it's just I don't even know what to say. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'll say, just if you're watching the video of the podcast right now on YouTube, if you're looking at Robin, like the positivity and the happiness that you can just see from when he was talking about this was absolutely incredible. So you know that
Yeah,
the past
I
couple
know.
of days was amazing.
I was getting a bit emotional. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's your first show in the since the whole entire pandemic happened. You
six
guys
hundred
had
and forty-five days. We counted like in the van on the way back. Six
that.
hundred and forty-five days.
Okay, that is nuts. That is a lot of days to be waiting for something
It
like
is.
that. But with everything that you guys have had going on as well, again, it was a show that you guys got on that was kind of like, okay, are we going to do this? Are we not going to do this? But the thing that you said that really stuck out to me was you brought up the fact that you're not necessarily sure where the next live show is going to come from, especially with it being your first live show back. You don't know exactly. We went through this where, we didn't know when live music in 2020 was going to come back. We had no idea
Yeah.
if it was even going to happen. So you took this opportunity as we finally have a chance to go play live. Why would we say, oh, we might not be fully ready for it? We might not be fully prepared for it. No. You got to go and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Even if we like didn't perform to the best of our abilities or anything, we were determined to just enjoy the moment, because we have some touring plans for 2022, but like we don't know what could happen in the next few months. So yeah, we had to just take this one shot and yeah, do the best we can with it.
Yeah, because even if you're looking at tours that are, supposed to be planned for 2022 as well, I'm seeing some pop up. I'm seeing some that are still being postponed even further back there. And This is mostly tours where the bands are traveling internationally. So it's European bands coming over to the United States, bands from the States coming over to Europe, bands from Australia going to both places as well. So it's something where...
like US bands touring the US seems to go pretty well, like so far from what I'm seeing. So yeah, it's mostly like the European part of things that is sort of a problem still, because every country has different like legislation and everything. So yeah, like UK seems to be doing all right. US seems to be doing all right, but yeah, for international touring, like you were saying, it's still a bit uncertain.
Yeah, it's a little tough. And again, like right now in the US, because I mean, ever since I would say, I mean, if when's my first live, like full live show back, maybe middle of July, but then all of a sudden it was end of August. I was starting to go to shows. September, ever since September started, every single weekend I've been to a show. And
Yeah,
I just have not stopped. I'm like, this is fantastic. Finally feels like normal again. But it is something where every single band that I'm seeing is originally from the US, because when it comes to travel restrictions based with the COVID-19 pandemic, that's, every country, like you said, still has different restrictions going through
hmm
it. So when you're playing over in Europe, it's the restrictions that you have in France might be different than restrictions that are in Germany or Italy
exactly.
or Switzerland or Finland or Austria or Slovakia, wherever it might, or even the UK. So it takes
Yeah,
a lot more to plan that out and also be aware that it still might not happen due to potential resurgences of a variant like we saw in the summer, or just, I mean, you never know at this point.
yeah. So gotta take everything that you can and enjoy it to the max. Yeah.
Absolutely. But the fact that you guys have tour plans set for 2022 as well, I mean, that's got to bring some hope for,
Oh yeah, it
getting
does.
back out on the road, doing more live shows like you just done, and having a blast every step of the way.
Yeah, yeah. We're about to announce like our first headline tour in France, so our home country, and this one's gonna be in March. So like the fact that it's just one country, so it's the same rules, and the fact that it's gonna be like at the beginning of the spring makes us pretty much sure that these shows are gonna happen. So that's extremely exciting. And then we have a European tour planned for April and May. So like then again, we'll see how the winter goes and we'll see how things look up when spring comes back. But yeah, that will probably happen. I don't know. We'll see, but
Well,
I'm very hopeful right now.
I would say from my mindset and from where I'm coming from, it's two things. One is the fact that you guys have a tour planned in March just within France, and then a one that's planned for the next month throughout Europe as well. From an economic standpoint, kind of thinking about it, it's you're diversifying yourself to the point where you have, if one doesn't happen, at least you still have the other to work on. And with you
Exactly. Yeah.
guys from France, you guys are focusing on, a tour that's just going to be in France. It's going to be similar like playing in the US, where it's just the same rules apply,
Yeah. You
for
know
COVID
what to
restrictions all
expect. Yeah.
throughout. Yeah, so you're able to plan that out better. And even if something happens where, maybe border restriction gets a little bit tighter, again, maybe due to a resurgence in parts of the pandemic, it's when it comes to that tour in France, you guys are already there. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes it a lot
Exactly.
easier to work with.
Yeah. It will take a lot of cases for us to be like locked again to like a 20 kilometers area or something. I don't see that really happening anymore with the vaccines. So that's cool. Yeah.
I'll say neither do I. And again, it's just something where even though we're in two different parts of the world, it's seeing how over here it's just kind of like, okay, going to shows, it's some places do require vaccine, some places require negative tests, some places it's, back to normal basically in a way.
hmm
So I'm like, you know what, this is kind of nice. It's just we're still working towards it, but it's slowly getting to the point where is just going to be a thing. Like the pandemic will hopefully just again be a thing of the past and just be like, okay, we've
Yeah.
dealt with
I mean,
this.
it's gonna be very progressive, obviously. Like I don't think there's really gonna be a point where we are all like, okay, this is over, back to normal. Like it's all gonna be like small baby steps, but we are getting there. So congrats to us, human race. Even though it's been a tough fight, we're
If those,
starting to get through it.
it's been a tough fight and it's been a lot of it's been baby steps to get back to that point. We're still not fully back there, but we've taken a lot of those baby steps.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a journey for sure.
It has been. And of course, I do have to go into it. The brand new album you have out called Between Me and the Machine, again, coming out on November 26th for everybody that is listening. So, again, you heard us talk about Seasick Sailor on the last podcast. So, you
hmm
be sure to make sure, when this one comes out, pre-save it, pre-order it. Again, I'm going to put it already here right out for you guys. Just look at the description of the podcast. All the links are going to be there for you guys to check it out,
Awesome.
and get ready when it comes out. So, I do want to talk about it because it was definitely, when I listened to it, there were, especially after listening to Seasick Sailor as the initial single back when we talked in June, I was not necessarily sure what to expect on this record fully as to what direction you guys were going to go in, because when it came to Seasick Sailor, I liked the sound of it. I liked the fact that there was some like a little bit more of this electronic programming in with the metalcore as well. However, I
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily sure with the rest of the album what direction were you going to take with it? Could you go on the heavier side? Could you go more with the programs? Where could you go with this? And after listening to all 11 songs on it, it seems like you guys really went and experimented with a lot of different ideas on this with your core sound in that metalcore scene.
Yeah, I mean, C6R is probably like one of the most different sounding tracks on the album, actually. I don't know what you think about this, but like so most of the tracks, like there's always like 2 or 3 tracks that are on the heavier side, 2 or 3 that are like more on the softer side. And C6R sort of stands in between the two. So that was interesting to release it first to, just see what the reaction to something quite different would be. So sorry, what was what was the initial question again then?
I think it was just something where, because of using C6 as the example, where, as you said, there are songs that have a little more of like a heavier, more based in that metalcore style sound that are heavier than it. So you get to that part of the album, and there's parts of the album where, maybe the electronic programming over it might be a little bit more prominent, where a little bit more softer. And with C6, you're kind of in the middle. So with you guys really branching out and trying all these different things, when you were working on this album, how did you feel about going and, working maybe with some songs that were heavier, some songs that had more of that programming aspect behind it to add a little bit of that lighter sense to the song?
Well, we knew we wanted it to be diverse, honestly. Like we felt like on the previous EP that we released, which was a Pendulum back in 2019, we sort of had found our sound, which was already quite diverse, because like we listen to so much different stuff, and we just like, even as musicians, it's fun to try and expand on what you can do. And so we from the start, it was a very conscious decision to just make something very broad. And I think that's even maybe part of the Resolve sound now, which like something to, like we don't want people to ever like hear that there's a Resolve track coming and be like, oh, okay, it's probably gonna sound like this. We want to keep it like a bit not mysterious, but up in the air sort of. So we just went all the way into this direction on the album, and I think we managed to do something that's quite interesting to hear over, because the album is pretty long too. So if it was all like one dynamic, it would get boring pretty fast, I think, or it would have to be a lot shorter. But we wanted to make like sort of a statement with this debut album that we take the music very seriously, and we don't really want to impose any limits on ourselves. So that was very conscious.
See, I understand that completely, because if I get to the point where if you're going to end up releasing something, it's like, oh, Resolve comes out with a new track. You don't want people to just kind of be like, oh, we know exactly what we're going to, we know exactly what to expect on this track, because it's kind of the same thing.
I mean, sometimes it's good too. Like there is bands that do that very well. And sometimes you also need that. Like some bands are just there to have a great time and put out something that's full of energy and just to rock out live.
I was going to say a band like Breaking Benjamin is a great example of that, because every time I hear a new Breaking Benjamin songs come out, I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to get from the band. I know exactly the sound I'm going to get, but it's a sound that works so well for them, where if I keep getting a little bit of a variation on it over and over and over again, I'm not necessarily going to be fully disappointed in it, because it's so well crafted. But it's the same token as well, if it's the same sound over and over and over again, especially on an album where, even though your album only is 11 songs long, it's the timing of these songs. They're not like, 1 to 2 minute songs. They're not like a punk rock track where it's going to be like 12 songs, like very punk rockish, but 26, 27 minutes. No, this album, I think close around like that 50, 51 minute mark. A lot of it specifically,
I think it's 48,
I'll say a lot of it do the titular track, which is like 8.5 minutes long.
You want to talk about this one?
I do want to talk about this one because, again, when I was looking through the album, when I was working on it, of course, this was the one that stuck out to me just on when I saw the promo of it, because I'm thinking, okay, here's a titular track, but 8.5 minutes long. And as I was listening through the album, because it is later on in the album's run through, and of course, when I listen to an album, if I'm going to work on it, before I dive deep into each song, I'm going to start out at the top, I'm going to let it run through the bottom. But when I saw this, I'm like, I was waiting for this one, because I'm curious to see what you guys do with 8.5 minutes on a track. So when it comes to Between Me and the Machine, when it comes to the titular track, I mean, if I'm going to go through it, the first thing I want to ask is, when it comes to the song, when you guys are writing it, what was the purpose behind the song? What's the meaning behind the song? So we can really try and understand not only the meaning of the song, but also the meaning of the album as well. Also, I want to see how close I got to like the mindset of the whole entire song as
Well,
well.
what's really cool is that like we intendedly, like from the start, even maybe like how could I explain it? So we knew we wanted to have a track on the album that was very well, like sort of an epic song. Like I've been a Dream Theater fan for years and years, and like Anthony, our singer and main songwriter, is a big Periphery fan too. And they tend to have like one of these longer tracks on their albums, and that's something that we always really enjoyed. So we knew we wanted to do something like this. We also knew that like the Between Me and the Machine concept came when we were writing the lyrics for the song Emerald Skies, which I don't know if you've noticed, but it actually like has sort of the same, like there's some melodies that are interlinked between the two, some lyrics too. So basically, Between Me and the Machine is sort of a concept story. It's very much like, have you seen Interstellar by Christopher Nolan? I guess you have. And it's very much sort of this space exploration story. So it's set in a uncertain future where humanity is pretty much done destroying the planet. So half of the humanity goes to space to try and find a new planet to live on, or just like some hope to cling on to. And some of the other are left on Earth to just basically die with it and just be there until the very last second. So Emerald Skies is the part where the humanity is stay on Earth, and Between Me and the Machine is the part where humanity has left the Earth. So that's why the track is pretty much at the end of the album, because we wanted people to like listen to it, hear the Emerald Sky story, see that it somehow connects with the whole Between Me and the Machine idea, and then be excited to go through the rest of the album to hear like the title track, which is actually like like you were saying, we knew that the longer runtime would sort of put a more different spotlight on it. So that was it was, so the song was pretty much written with this in mind, and it very much like wrote itself actually. Like Anthony came up to us one day and was like, I think I've got something. So because usually how it goes is Anthony writes a demo for a song and then brings it to the studio, and we all sort of work on it more on the like bigger picture. So we arrange the structure, we work on the lyrics and everything. And I think Between Me and the Machine was the one where we pretty much didn't do anything like the other guys and me. Like it came straight, almost straight as it is. Like the solo took a long time to write, and some of the lyrical stuff and ideas took a long time to write. But in terms of the music, it was pretty much as it is now, which was something that we were really impressed with. So we just decided to leave it as it was.
So dang, that is insane, and that is something that I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the whole entire idea behind the song, I completely missed the mark on that due to the fact that, again, when it comes to kind of having a little bit of a concept behind it, telling the certain story behind it. The one thing I do have to give you a lot of credit for is the fact that when it comes to the run through, Emerald Skies is right smack dab in the middle of the album at the 6th slot, and then Between Me and the Machines, which is coming all the way at the back end at 10 when it comes to 11 song track. So I like the fact that you guys did not put those two right back to back together, just due to the fact that it might necessarily, on an album run through, it kind of like might bring the album a little bit more to a like, okay, either like a complete high point or a low point on itself, due to the fact that it's the flow of it. All of a sudden now you're focusing on this kind of sort of when it comes
to been weird to exactly.
When it comes to Emerald Skies though, because I was like, because you're talking about the concept behind it, where it's again, humanity's kind of ruined Earth, and you have two sets of people. Some people that leave the planet to go and try and find a better future and kind of still have a little bit of hope, or the people that end up staying behind and have to just kind of die with it. When it comes to Emerald Skies, like, I kind of got a little bit of that, but I've related it more to kind of like, again, that hopelessness feeling, but a lot of it more related to what we had just gone through, in real life when it comes to the whole entire pandemic, because remember back in like March and April, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to see our family, our friends, or go to concerts again, have live shows. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do any of this. And with time passing, it seemed like every single day, especially in March and April of 2020, when it seemed like no good news was happening, when everything was just continually be shut down, when everything was just, cases are spiked, this, that. And just with that feeling of being like, felt like, you're kind of locked away. And hopelessness is just not coming for you, or hopelessness is coming for you because the hope is gone. It just really kind of cuts deep for us that what we felt in 2020 compared to the story where, these people are left on Earth while it's basically destroyed and decaying and it's going to die. And because you're there and you can't get off of it, it's kind of like all hope is gone.
That's a very interesting thought. And honestly, that's the first time I've we didn't even thought about it, because most all of the music, basically all of the music, the lyrics and everything was done when the pandemic hit, so none of it had any influence on the album. But that's actually like something very clever that you're thinking of, and I wish we thought of it when releasing the track, because that would have given that would have made for a cool promotional angle. So yeah, nice one.
I'll say, but one other thing too is just it shows the dynamics that your music ends up having to be able to essentially continue to live on a much longer life and be more resonating on a much longer life cycle than a lot of other music, a lot of other songs that are coming out from not only you guys, but like every other band that comes out. Because when you have a meaning to a song that has more of this potential timeless feel to it, like with the whole entire base meaning behind Emerald Skies, even though it's based on more of a story, however, it does go with this feeling of hopelessness. And even though you wrote the lyrics, wrote the melodies, wrote everything about it before the pandemic even hit, when the pandemic hit, it basically breathed a whole different life into this song, especially from my perspective as well. So now every time I listen to it, my mind's immediately going to go back to the time in March and April of 2020, and it's going to always resonate with me no matter what. And if something else happens again in my life, whether it's personal, whether it's, more of a societal thing where, all hope is gone, this is going to be something that resonates a little bit more to me. Plus, not gonna lie, the heavier sound on it, it's something that, I'm always a bigger fan of. I'm like, ooh. So, out of all, when I was running through the songs, Emerald Skies was one that after I listened to it and I was running through everything, I kept kind of coming back to this one a little bit more than the rest, because just the sound on it was something that really stuck out to me.
That's awesome. Well, there's Emerald Skies is very much unique on the album. It's, I guess, do you play guitar?
I do not.
All right, but are you familiar with guitar tuning and everything? Because Emerald Skies is the heaviest song on the album in terms of how low the guitars are tuned, which are pretty much equivalent to an 8-string guitar.
I'm not too in tune with the exact tunings of a guitar, but if you're willing to talk about it, 'cause I know there's probably people that are listening to this podcast that are going to be really interested. Okay, what kind of tuning was this in? So I would love to hear it.
So Emerald Skies is a drop F, tracked on a 6-string guitar. So I think that's basically the same tuning as most Meshuggah songs, for reference. Do you want me to talk about maybe the other tunings on the album, or do you want to focus more on Emerald Skies?
I'll put it this way. We'll focus a little bit more on Emerald Skies right now, because I wanted to focus on Between Me and the Machines, but if there's connection between the two, Emerald Skies, Between Me and the Machines, let's start with the beginning, and then we'll keep working our way through. So all right, for sure. When we get to Between Me and the Machines, maybe we could talk a little bit more about that as well. But when it comes to Emerald Skies, right from, especially when I listen to the instrumentals, right from the intro, it kind of felt like this opened up a little bit techier Architects, also meaning a While She Sleeps vibe with a rougher guitar tone over the entire thing with a little bit of those electronics over it. And not gonna lie, I do like that little techier version of the sound, because I think about during the pandemic, we were all forced into our houses so long that we only had a small way to communicate. We only could communicate through our phones, through computers, through video chats like this. So just kind of bringing that in there, it added to that hopelessness feeling, just due to the fact that we felt the only way we could communicate is through some sort of technological advance where we couldn't have that person-to-person interaction. So right from the get-go with that tech, I'm like, oh, this is really kind of taking me back to all of a sudden it's okay, the only communication I can have with people is Literally this.
Yeah, literally the tech. Well, yeah, it's that's probably like one of the hardest riffs to play on the album. That's for sure. One of the funniest to play too, though. And yeah, we just like we knew we wanted like same as Between Me and the Machine. Like there was this sort of brief that we had in mind for the album track listing, and we knew we wanted like one song to be like really like the heavy hitter on the album. So like, what do you do when you play metal and you want to hit harder? You just tune lower. that's that's just science. I don't know. I'm not making the rules, but apparently that's what you gotta do. So yeah, we did this one. This one is one of the older, the one of the most older songs that we wrote. Again, it was mostly Anthony, even though this yeah it went through a couple of versions when we tried different things in terms of structure, and that's also one of the earliest songs we wrote the lyrics for, I think, because we were very excited to finish this track first. I mean, among the first, because from the start we also knew that we wanted this to be one of the singles. Because one, I mean, just as everyone we love as metalheads, we love when it's heavy. So we knew that people would get into this track because yeah, it's just. I mean, even the tempo is it's more on the lower register for us. Like it's one of the lowest song on the album, but it makes for a yeah different vibe and definitely way heavier than most of the songs. So we were very excited, yeah, when Anthony brought this demo in. Yeah,
Oh, I would be as well, because even like as the finished product comes through, like even like I'll go to the verse as well, because like you still kept that like electronic, like techier sound over everything, but it was when the guitars came in, it was like more of a melodic burst, that lower, rougher tone. And it just kind of gives a little bit more of this aggressive feel of, you're in that hopelessness state and you don't want to be there anymore. So that rougher sound and that like just the melodic burst out, I'm like, this is really starting to build up that anger, that energy that we had, where
yeah,
all of a sudden,
it's very cathartic. I would
yeah.
say, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get to the chorus and it's like the guitars kind of calm down, but it's like a melodic metalcore meets Breaking Benjamin's out to give more of the emotional heaviness to the track. And the electronic overlay is here once again. It's not as prevalent, but it's here once again. But for my opinion, it really helps on the overall song, just because it adds that more distorted world of hopelessness feel that, in the story, that's what's being felt there, because, it's more hopeless because you can't really get. But during the pandemic, we felt a lot of that as well. And when I got that, I really like the idea behind it, but then, oh dear Lord, after that second verse, all of a sudden it was like we get this massive, like bursting, like breakdown right there with this rougher style, and then bridges us into a lighter melodic overall understanding of kind of what has happened throughout the whole entire story or throughout the pandemic as well. I'm like, I love the breakdown. It speaks that anger boiling over when all hope had seemed to be gone, because, I mean, hell, there were times where all of a sudden we were sitting at home and it's like 2 months into this, like, when the hell is this going to end? And people are just getting angry. It's like, you're starting to just really let the emotions out here. And it really felt like that was happening. Then the bridge somewhat saves this a bit to try and show, that there's still something out there. Like, still, there might be still some hope. Hope might not always be gone, but it might take that feeling of hopelessness to just kind of reignite something within ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a very good interpretation, and I really like it. But if I'm being like fully honest, I think the reason, like one of the main reason why there's this sort of more eerie atmospheric part right after the breakdown is, one, because we like contrast in our songs, and two, because we know that this part was going to be really intense live, so we needed something to sort of like bring the energy
Yeah.
down for a little while before hitting into the last chorus. So I think, yeah, that was something that was written very much with the live show in mind, because yeah, like from the moment we had this first riff, this like this bouncy thing, and yeah, the breakdown came very early as well. Like we just couldn't wait for the day to play it live. So yeah, it was very much written as in how could we make it like the best and the most explosive we could for while playing it live.
No, absolutely. I understand that as well, because one thing that happens, especially in a live setting, is it's a completely different feel than listening to music just on the album, because now you're with a bunch of people. This is why, a lot of us miss live shows, because you're with a bunch of people who love the same kind of music that you do, who connect with the music the same positive way that you do, again, through completely different avenues because everyone goes through life differently. And you guys are up on stage having a great time doing it as well, expressing this to us. But when it comes to live show as well, it's if you're going to go consistently heavy throughout the whole entire thing, and, you know, for someone like myself in a mosh pit, I'll still stick in there the whole entire time during the whole entire song. But
I know.
there's a
I
lot
know.
of, but there's a lot of people that will be like, you know, they might need that little bit of a break in there. So having that potential like built into this song as well works for the live show. But if it's going to work on, if you're going to focus on that, it's got to make sure it makes sense in the song as well. But on this case, it does work out well to kind of build back up into that, you know, that anger of hopelessness. But the fact of the matter is now it's that you're passionate about trying to make a change so that you can bring back some sort of hope. And that brings back hope as well, because now it's like you have the passion, you have the fire, you have the energy to do something like this. So now this like lighter contrasting style and the bridge is taking the final chorus, it just makes sense. It just really makes sense in the overall flow of everything.
I think it does, yeah, I think it does. And like you were saying, like there is plenty of bands that are absolutely excellent at being heavy all the time, and I love plenty of those. But like from the start, we knew that maybe like the all heavy all the time was not something that we were particularly the very best at. So we thought, you know what, it's fine. We can just leave it to other bands and try and do like our own thing. Even though, yeah, like we know that some people just want to go to a show to have a great time, and I mean to have a great and violent time, and just like crowd kill like through the whole 45-minute set. But I mean, they will have plenty of occasions to do so with other bands, and maybe maybe they will enjoy something a bit different from time to time, and that's where we want to come into play. So yeah,
it's kind of like,
I mean, it's so good. There's room for everyone in this music. So
oh, absolutely. It's gonna be your live set as well. So make it the live set the way you want it to. But an example that I'll bring up is like, because I love going to see Ice Nine Kills live. So I went to go see him 4 times in September of 2021. And I loved every minute of it. But it was always right in the middle of their set is when they would play the song "A Grave Mistake," which is much slower, much softer than anything they really ever do. But when it comes to especially Elvis being the pit going nuts, what that song, when they bring that in there, what it does is it ends up giving us a breather, it ends up giving us a break. But it also transforms the show in a completely different way, because at that point, all of us in the pit, everyone's got their arms around each other, swaying back and forth, singing the song along with Ice Nine Kills as well.
You've been able to connect beforehand by being very, very close together. So
yeah. So it's just something where it's no matter how heavy you want to go, however light you want to go, you guys can make that work in terms of, you know, building the show up in that way. And when it comes to Emerald Skies, just how you have that built in there, it kind of adds that within its own song as well. So all of a sudden you get to the bridge and people are going crazy in the pit after that initial breakdown, but all of a sudden, you know, we were able to kind of take a little bit of a breather. Now we're able to get ready for that chorus once again in a live setting. You guys will get ready for that chorus, and the crowd energy sort of has a moment to sort of, I would say, not necessarily reset, but to recharge in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like maybe I'm just too familiar with the song, but I think you can feel like the last chorus and the last drop, like you can feel it coming. So I think it also helps like to build some sort of anticipation for through the whole track. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like that's something we definitely saw 2 days ago at the show. And like not most of the people, but a lot of people there were familiar with the song. And yeah, like they were starting to like pick up their energy even like before the last part hit and everything. So that was really exciting to see.
See, it works. I mean, you guys put it together on the song. It makes sense within the song itself. And when it comes to the live show, it works out the way you wanted to, especially when you played it for the first time and all of a sudden you saw the reaction from people that knew the song, because a lot of people knew the song already. There are people that didn't, but they know now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they caught up pretty quickly, so that's fine.
And then like even the vocals when it comes to Emerald Skies as well from Anthony, because you know the verses played along with more of the unclean style over the distortion to show more of that anger around the 2020 situation. And I did like this because we all felt that anger of discontentness, of hopelessness. So hearing Anthony really go over and do that was something like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. The chorus, again, more melodic, more clean, more this condensed quality to the singing, given, you know, the native French accent from, you know, speaking English as well. And on this one, this only really happened in the chorus in this one where at times it felt like sometimes the vocals were getting a little bit more crushed together in a way, just the way that was just the lyrics, because I think it might have been just the native accent from, me hearing it from an American perspective. Yeah, I know it. But the cleans do show this loss of hope, or this more exhaustive feel that we all felt in 2020 when when unknown was the name of the game, and we didn't know what was going to happen next. We didn't know we were going to be able to see our family and friends. We didn't know if we were going to be able to go to live shows, or go and watch some sports or whatever it might be. Go out to the bar, go to the pub, whatever it might be. So even though like when it came to some of the lyrics itself, it kind of for me at times felt a little bit mushed together. It's the emotion that was behind the clean vocals that still stood out to the point where that overtook that, and you could still understand every bit of the hopelessness that was being felt in the song.
Well, like I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think it tracked the vocals for Emerald Skies like actually at the very early stages of the pandemic, because like to give you to go a little back. So tracking for the album started in November 2019 with the drums. Then like December, January, that was the mostly guitars and everything. And we tracked the vocals last. And Anthony actually like had to do a lot of them like on his own at his own studio because we were locked up. So yeah, I'm sure like we never really like discussed it in depth, like the two of us, but I'm pretty sure like a lot of the energy and meaning behind the takes, like the vocal takes, like as opposed to the actual lyrics, but I think like the takes and the energy put into it probably had been influenced a lot by the pandemic, like you were saying. Like, you know what, man? That's a really good job you did there, because you're making me think of stuff that really didn't like occur to me before, and I really like that. So thanks for that.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. But if this is when Anthony was tracking, this was during the early stages of the pandemic, especially with a song like this. Like this, the emotion just comes out every step of the way here, and then you get to the breakdown of this part as well, because the heavy, unclean vocals are here to stay for this part, and I have right here, I am all for it when he pulls this off, just because what Anthony does here is shows more of this full anger once again, and this resentment towards the situation of the pandemic, and the way I looked at it, with the unwillingness to accept what was the new normal, with this new hopelessness, to understanding that, we might not be necessarily be able to go out for a long time, see people, see friends, go to shows, whatever it might be. The bridge shows more of this new reality potentially setting in, and with the much calmer vocals, but also shows that, maybe some kind of hope does end up reigning true, depending upon how you end up taking it. But then the outroing breakdown really does a lot to dispel all the fact that, we're not letting this new normal really set in. So because we want to go back to live shows, we want to go back to I want to go back to a mosh pit and potentially, break my finger like I did 2 weeks ago and still not care about it, which is a true story. Broke my finger in the pit, literally taped it up, and I kept going because, well, I'm not stopping. But like it was something like that where it was. His voice really showed a lot of the frustration, the hopelessness, the anger that was being felt during the pandemic. And even the cleaner vocals showed a bit more of this just like exhausted feeling of hopelessness, because when you don't have hope, going through life just isn't fun. It gets hard to go through there, because it feels like you're going through the motions, and just whatever happens.
Yeah, you're just like a ghost maybe, or something like that.
It's kind of like a robot.
Yeah,
or a zombie.
That fits the thematic for the song. So
yeah. And so before we jump into the titular song on the second half of this, because I do want to go through that one, but when it comes to Emerald Skies, my little overall part of this, I said overall this song brings a distortion to the electronic backing and the guitars to really show more of this different feel and world that we'd all felt in 2020, or when it comes to the story as well, the different feeling of a destroyed world that we're talking about. Like we were just going along with whatever world leaders said and headed into the unknown, expected to accept whatever came our way. Now, where this song stands out is the vocals, because they show the initial anger of the situation, moving to the concern that we might be stuck in this for a long time, only to close with the resentment to accept that new normal. Heavier works, and the mix is so well done, but the cleanliness of the pre-chorus clean vocals needs like just a little bit of work just to kind of like clean them up a little bit to make, again, it's all the vocals just mixing. But honestly, this is a truly stellar song, and dude, can I come see this live so I can go crazy during it?
I wish, man. I wish. Maybe one day.
Maybe. Well, I mean,
No, you mean come to Europe to see this live, or us
Yeah,
coming over to the US?
either or, man, either or. I'm good with
I
both.
mean, I gotta be honest. Like there will probably be still a couple of years before we head out to the US, but you're more than welcome to come to Europe anytime, and
Well,
just be sure that like you will be on the guest list that day. That's for sure.
well, Robin, I'll put it this way: my I was planning on coming to Europe because I was there in 2019, and my plan was this was at the end of 2019. Like, okay, I'm going back in 2020. I'm going in September. Well, the pandemic happened. I'm like, okay, now we're gonna move it to May of 2021. That didn't happen. Now we're gonna move it to
Of course.
September of 2021. Okay, restrictions seem to be less, but that still didn't happen. Now we're going for May 2022.
Well, I think we're touring the UK in May 2022. If you wanna
Shoot,
check the
I'm
dates.
well. I'll have, when the dates come out because I still haven't fully
I,
planned it out yet, and I'm going multiple different places. So, you know what? I can always make my way there. You never know. I
yeah,
can make it
I think the
happen.
dates are already out. I think so. Yeah, like if you, I don't remember like what exact days we are playing. I think we're playing 3 shows towards the end of May. So yeah, like if you wanna do a little research and see, yeah, you'll have
I'll
to
be
let me
doing
know.
I'll be doing research on this, and all of a sudden I'll let everyone know, like all the bands I've talked to, and you're like in February, March, like okay, this is where I'm gonna be for here for your show. Ding ding. I'm gonna be
Oh
moving
yeah,
around like
there's gonna be.
I'm gonna be like traveling to a different country, to a different city, literally like every day for like 3 weeks probably, and I'm gonna love every
That's
minute of
sure.
it. As long as I
You're
don't
going
break,
on your own tour.
yeah, as long as I don't break more fingers, I think I'll be fine.
I think the American pits are probably a bit harder than the European ones. So I don't know.
Ooh.
That's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never been to the US, so I can't really compare the two myself. But from what I hear, yeah, you guys go pretty crazy
I
in
think it
the
all.
in the pit.
I honestly think it all depends upon the show as well, because
Hmm.
there are some bands where it's like I expect them to, maybe have some good pits. I'm like, oh, I'm not necessarily like I beat them, like I'm not necessarily the best. But all of a sudden I see a band like Lamb of God, and it's like, okay, this whole entire room is a pit. Or when I went to go see A Day to Remember, that's when I broke my finger, and I'm like, okay, I can't stop.
Uh,
Like the pit is too much. Like when they go heavy, the pit is rough. But when they're like more like the pop punk, easy core kind of style, like the pit isn't necessarily rough, but it's huge and it's just so much fun. So I
yeah.
feel like, I might just do what I do now, is just like, okay, take my finger that's broken, take the one that's not broken, tape them up together, good to go.
Or I don't know. Just like bring maybe like some gloves or something, some sort of protections. Like I don't know.
Just like the gloves that like keep my fingers like connected. So it's like I start pushing. It's like, why do you have those gloves on? I am not breaking my finger in Germany. I'm not doing it, guys.
No, I mean it will probably be less expensive than breaking it in the US, but still probably not a good idea.
Oh, no, much less expensive. I'll put it that way, because I went to go get it checked out the day after the show, because I'm like, I'm not going to the emergency room because that's gonna cost me a shit ton of money. So
Yeah.
let's wait till the next day when all the other doctors are there, so I can just have it checked out by somebody. They're like, yeah, it's broken, but you should be fine. Cool, done.
Oh, cool. Well, if that's just that, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. So enough about my broke finger, because now we got to go to the titular song on this one, because again, it's the 8.5 minute long one, and
Yeah.
okay, it's 8.5 minutes long. How'd you come up with something that was going to be able to, not only, I'll say this, keep the attention for so many people for 8.5 minutes long, just due to the fact that, I know a lot of people, they don't necessarily have the attention spans. It's just the way the world is lately. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
3-4 minutes long, that's going to be, it's like, no, when it's 8.5 minute one, it's got to continually have this idea behind it, to where you're going to want to come back to it over and over and over again. And when it started out, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But once you really got to like the song building into when the instrumentals really came about, maybe minute 15 in, that's where I really was like, okay, here we go. Oh boy. I'm
Yeah.
like, so when I went back to the song, like I kept looking forward to that part, because the build on that really did work out well. So when it came to writing Between Me and the Machine, when it came to writing this long song, what was the idea behind it in order to make sure that this song was, again, fully fleshed out and had a lot of substance to it for the long run time, so that people listening to it were going to be invested in it and fully listening to it and fully into it for that long time?
Well, I think what's tricky about longer songs is sometimes they can feel sort of like a riff salad or something, just like parts like glued together, but that don't really like fit into the other or just flow well into the other. And I think like what I'm really happy with this track is the fact that there's not really a lot of repeating parts during the song, but it's all very much like the same motif and the same like rhythmic groove, and like so there's like it's very different throughout, but I think you can definitely like feel the structure, that it's very simple, I want to say, and maybe like memorable, because like we really wanted to include like one big chorus, even though like a lot of longer and proggier songs don't really have a chorus, but we knew that we wanted to keep it sort of like traditionally structured. So like there's the intro, then there's a very long verse, then like there's a chorus, then another very, very long verse, and sort of like an outro. And like you can sort of, yeah, like you can sort of, how would you say it? Describe the song as a, yeah, sort of a simpler structure, but more drowned out over time. And we also like, that's the only guitar solo on the album. And Anthony is a very sick guitarist, so I was the one pushing for it. Like this one should have like a very like I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, as you can see,
Yep.
and I think I don't know what you're thinking, but I think you can feel like the influence on the like. I was the one telling Anthony just go for a Gilmour style solo, because that would really fit like this more instrumental and atmospheric parts, and he killed it in my opinion. Like I listen to the track all the time, even if just to hear this solo, because I think it's beautiful. And I think, yeah, that's what makes it's like it comes as a surprise sort of, but the fact that it takes like very melodic parts that are a part of the like the vocal lines make it, I think it ties the song together in a really nice way. So that's something I'm really happy with personally. Like that, I think that's my favorite track on the album.
I mean, I can see why, especially with you. We're in the Pink Floyd shirt with the Pink Floyd influences there, and a lot of it comes from initially when I picked up on it was right at the beginning of the song, because it has this like a little bit more electronic, but also this cosmic setting. Some and like with some shallow sounding guitar chords to accent that sound. And I was really intrigued by this from the get go, because it sets more of this like dystopian style world right in front of us, where when it comes to the whole entire story that you were kind of going off of for the with the base for the meaning of the song, where it's, you know, now it's these people that are trying to go off and find a different planet to live on and trying to keep some of that hope, but you know, you're going out into space, you don't necessarily know where you're going, so there's this cosmic wonderment that really works within there, and it's kind of dystopian in a way, because you know, we just completely destroyed something else that we would love. From my perspective, I also took the meaning of the song sort of, you know, we're kind of already living in that in a way because of the panic, but a lot of it is just because it was happening, because a lot of people aren't necessarily living in the real world anymore. We're not necessarily living on Earth. We're living on the internet. So
and we probably passed the point of no return. So that's very concerning. Yeah.
So it's like it kind of sets that dystopian world feel in front of us, especially as the loud and rough electronics really come over the top of everything. It's like a wake up call to us to realize that we are heavily focused on potentially the wrong life, but it might be too late to go behind that. And it's got me thinking, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where that cosmic, more like, whenever I think cosmic, I kind of also think Pink Floyd as well, like Laser Floyd, that kind of crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, so this kind of puts it into an interesting perspective. But then the song builds, the drum works come in until we transition to this, like, more of this, like, you know, what the verse pre-chorus kind of style was, that takes this lighter electronic style and push it over this more rapid riff on the back end that kind of has the feel of like, you know, the rapid and speed of something like Dragon Force. And I was surprised as all hell at this, because I'm like, we're going with this more melodic, more slow sound, and all of a sudden now we're getting contrasted with this, like we'd done with between the Break Down the Bridge of Emerald Skies. I really like the use of the heaviness and rapidness, because now we are being shown in the instrumentals that, you know, we're not in this full connected world. It like just completely just like scrambles us in a way to kind of like jostle our minds. And then there's violins that come in over the top of it, and what a powerful move to add those in there, because it just adds more of this theatric epicness to it. And especially when you have that 8.5 minute long track, it's going to feel like an epic tale. It's going to feel something like, you know, you're going to need that theatrical style to just add so much more to it. And just bringing them in there at that moment. Damn.
Well, yeah, like you were saying, like we wanted it to be like sort of theatrical. Like I think like we had this vision for the like even before writing the lyrics and everything. So the intro was we were picturing sort of a spaceship like slowly floating in space, like peacefully and everything. You know, like you can see the suns and different stars like passing by and everything, and then it goes into light speed. So swoosh, and the song really like starts and it grabs you with it. So that was exactly why we wanted this like very stark contrast between the intro and when it picks up. And yeah, like what better time to like introduce blast beats and like very
Yeah.
fast double bass parts than on an 8 minute track that's sort of maybe progressive death metal at some moments. So yeah, we knew we wanted to have fun with the like maybe the more extreme parts of metal, and so yeah, that felt like the perfect moment to do so.
Oh, it really was, because even like right after that as well, like right after you go through that heavier, faster paced style, you keep that heaviness in there. Like once those violins kind of end, but then the song becomes more melodic as it kind of chugs along. And I really like this as we had more of this melodic kind of broken up style that we're gonna get to towards the chorus, because
Mhm.
it makes us feel like we were being shown the life that we are living, especially when it comes to, trying to find something new or to live on the internet. It's kind of like a total lie. It's that our connection to, this what we have or we're going for instead of what we have had and how good it was. Like again, when it comes to the internet as well, like being connected to our screens devices really leaving us in this state of loss and loneliness. And I just felt like it was a smart move to just really bring this more relaxed out to just land right on top of that.
Yeah, it's yeah, it can be yeah. I mean, you're just too good with it, honestly. Like at this point, you've done your research so well. I can only agree with most of what you're saying, and like yeah, you're explaining it maybe better than I could at this point. So that's no man, yeah, congrats. I'm glad you're loving it. But yeah, I can only say yeah, you're right, dude. Like that's
Well,
uh that's very good. That's very good
oh
interpretation.
well,
So
shit. I gotta say thanks, Ryan. But this also comes from probably me listening to the song. Probably when I was trying to figure it out, it was once on the full run through, and then when I was trying to figure it out piece by piece to really understand it. Probably listen to the song for, well, let's see, how long would 6 or 7 times be? Probably close to like a whole hour of just like continually going through this part by part, because if I'm not understanding a song, I really want to understand it. And if I'm going to talk to someone about it, I really want to try and get to know everything there is about it, because then we can talk about this and all of a sudden you bring up things that I didn't notice, and then I'm bringing up different emotions that the song kind of portrayed. It's like, well, this might actually make sense, especially when it came to
no, and
Anthony's
yeah, and like I
vocals.
was saying, you're also bringing stuff that we didn't notice. So that's a good conversation to have for
It's
sure.
coming full circle here. Woo!
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. Just like the song, it ends with the same beat as the intro.
Yeah,
So
yeah, because even like, we got to that chorus part as well. The instrumentals, I thought they stayed melodically heavy until they drop off in the middle of the song to create this lighter cosmic feel to the idea of like a softer guitar riff. And I'm like, okay, now this feels like we've really fully realized that the life we have lived and how we are no longer connected to it or to the people that we love, like we're no longer there. Kind of similar to that story where, we're trying to find something new, but
yeah,
we're no longer being connected to the people that we kind of left behind. This really adds much more to the song as its second half, because the guitar solos with them more wheedly and then the toms create this more pounding build behind it. We feel as though we are getting that point of understanding to finally make the change that we need in order to take our life to where we want to kind of really get away from not necessarily living it in the work, like being present because we're always online or we're always, trying to find something new. It's like, no, be present in the now. And it kind of really builds to that, especially with the guitar solo and the toms around that are behind it to kind of create that pounding build behind, the realization aspect of, come on, like focus on the present now. Don't always try and look for the next thing, or don't try and like distract yourself by not living there and living in this virtual world where, it's here, but it's not a real place. Like the real
yeah,
place is where
and
you like, I'm here in a real place. Here we're just talking, on a screen. But you're in a real place,
no,
I'm in a
yeah,
real place. Even though we're like 5,000 miles away, we're still
no, but
connecting. But
yeah, the connection is real. But
yeah,
yeah, like I like what you were saying about the like this the moments where the more electronic beats start to like the so yeah, the song like builds up to like this very heavy breakdown that goes faster and faster, and we instantly wanted to like have a big cut in the song and just like change the setting completely. And like you were saying, like to that could also like be considered as something like that has to do with the pandemic. Like life goes by like really quickly, and suddenly something goes wrong, and boom, we are all like stopped in our tracks, and we have to just sort of adjust to this new reality, to this new setting, and just this sort of fleeting feeling for a while. That's that's a cool comparison, I think.
Oh, and then I gotta keep going to like, because then you get towards the end of the song where it works to the conclusion. The drums pick up with the heaviness, and guitar follows to create more of that anger, that heaviness of the impactful build to once again show that we can't live this way anymore, only for it to end with the same way that it started with that intro. And what I liked about this part is they kept creating the realization side of things for the song as a whole, as we close out the same way that we began, because it's like if we don't make any kind of changes, if we kind of just think about it and we understand it, but then we don't do anything about it, we could very well stay in this melodic loop of life forever, really never connecting everyone again. Or when it comes to the story, it's what happens if we go to this other planet and all of a sudden it's like, okay, we found a new place to live. But if we don't change anything we do, we're just going to destroy it, and we're going to have the same thing happen. Similar to like the bad guys in the movie Independence Day, where it's they just go from planet to planet, consuming every single natural resource, and then when they're done, when they've completely wiped that planet dry, they pick up and go to the next one. It's just like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a metaphor for the human race in the
pretty much
movie. So I don't know. I've never thought about it, but it could be it. And like I could see, like assuming humanity manages to like scale up spatial travel, I could definitely see us like starting to act like this and find new planets to colonize and just ruin them, and back to where it all began, but just like more powerful, more I don't know. It's
kind of like a sad, it's kind of like a sad reality in a way. But even like from where I took it to, where it's just kind of focusing more on like the reliance on technology and how we're connecting with people, not necessarily in person, but we're always doing it virtually. It's, if we don't necessarily make that, if we don't try and make that change, we're gonna be stuck in this loop forever, where all of a sudden we're gonna end up being in these like small little pods, living in a world that doesn't necessarily even exist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
kind of
not
like
sure.
The Matrix.
Like, I could see the loop not lasting that long. There's a very high possibility for me that we could just like destroy the planet to the point of annihilating all forms of life on it. So hopefully, I mean, I would love for humanity to learn from its mistake, and maybe plan A would be to stop like absolutely killing the planet, and maybe do our best to reverse the trend. But plan B would be to just like leave the earth and let it die for like because of everything we did to it. So I don't even know what would be the best option, honestly.
I mean, for me, I'd say the best option would be to try and reverse course so that we can actually fix this place. But one thing that I've learned throughout life and just throughout science history is nature always wins. So we're not gonna outlive nature. If all of a sudden
that's actually, that's a lyric on one of our earliest track actually. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
I was like, if the planet's gonna die, we're not staying with it. Like, it's gonna take us out too. It's unrelenting. I mean, I guess it's like kind of like with death. Nature stays undefeated.
No, but yeah, we would have deserved it, honestly, at this point. So.
Oh yeah, and then when it comes to the overall, like again, wrapping up the overall thing with Between Me and the Machine, the song specifically, I put overall. At the beginning, I was a little conflicted with this one, but it was because of how it started. Again, it was sound like at first like something was missing just with the whole entire slower melodic build with the electronics behind it. Like there was a subtle contentness around the overall concept of the lack of human connection and being more concerned with, the next thing, or being more concerned with the machines. But then when the instrumentals picked up and we got that like rapid, more blasphemy, Dragon Force fast kind of sound, and the vocals show more of the unclean anger, it really turned around for me to show our discontent to the life that we have now. We want that connection, but aren't getting it because, maybe it's a tech, or maybe it's something where, we destroyed the planet. We're trying to find something else. It's like we're focused on, not necessarily fixing our current situation. We're always looking at something different with a distraction. However, the major key is the acceptance of how the song ends, because we feel like no matter what we do, it won't be enough to break the chain. Now that too many of us rely on, the machines, too many of us rely on the internet as our connective tool, or too many of us are looking towards the future, not living in the present. It's a sad inevitability that it seems like all of us are going to have to live with. And just the way the song ends, the same way it began, damn, what a move.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like, so this title between me and the machine, so it's like there's this storyline part that's very much like sci-fi and yeah, sort of like dystopian future, but the between me and the machine concept can also like very much be linked to, and that's more like that's more related to the art, to the artwork of the album, but it's very much this thing that you are saying of us being so tied to our to these machines, and basically like what's the like where's the line, where's the frontier between us and these things? That's very much a question that we are asking ourselves, like very much, because just like everybody else, we are always like we are always on our phones, on our computers and everything, and that's very cool, that's very comfortable, and you can do so many amazing things with it, but at the same time it's definitely taking away a part of our humanity to an extent, and it's tough to find the right like the right path between too much machine, not enough machine, because you also like you have to realize that you need it now in this day and age. Like you cannot just say no, I won't get a smartphone, because you'll end up just like you'll end up having no friend, having no one to talk to, having, I mean that's sad, but I think that's a sad reality of this day and age. You have to accept it and just find the right compromise and find what works for you.
Yeah, because my best friend's one of those ways where it was he never wanted a smartphone, always had a flip phone, because he was just like, I just don't want to deal with all like the social media stuff. I just don't want to. He's like, I'd rather be connected with people in the present, which is fine. But then after a while, he ended up breaking with that and getting a smartphone for the sole purpose of, he's like, connecting with people. It's like if I don't have their phone number, then trying to connect with them, even though I'm like we're Facebook friends or whatnot. He's like, I'd have to be at home to do that. It's like if all of a sudden they're trying to send me a message and be like, hey, let's go meet here. He's not going to be able to get it unless he's at home, and like most of the time he's doing something else. So it's something where finding that balance of understanding that this with technology, that it's a tool. Like especially as for us,
it's all about how you use it.
It's a tool to be connected to people in order to be able to, make plans with them, or just kind of stay in the know with them. But when it comes to really being able to connect with people like in a real connective state, you have to do it in a way that's not over text, that's not over, that's going to have more of this face-to-face human interaction, because I believe it's something where it's 90% of what we say as people is not the words that come out of our mouth. It's like 60% is based off of just body language and how we present ourselves when we say something. And the other 30% is the tone of our voice. So if you're writing something in text, you're only getting 10% of the actual message.
Oh yeah. That can be very, like, even though we are very used to it, and like, how you can, like, I don't know if you agree with this, but like you could tell if you were talking, I mean, if you were texting with a friend, and if that person, like if someone else was writing on behalf of the friend, like I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Like we all have our little, like the way we use emojis, the way we use like punctuation and everything. Like we sort of developed this online tone, I guess, for lack of a better word. But that's like nowhere near the connection you get from like even just a video call. Like you haven't said anything, but I can see you like agreeing. I can see you like reacting to what I'm saying in real time, and that's like you're saying, that's something that can be hard to achieve through text only. Even though like I gotta admit, I think we've developed this sort of like sixth sense in a way. Like we are able to like I was saying, if we are talking on the phone with someone we are really close to, I think you can sort of feel, like when the person is feeling a bit off, or when the person is like really excited with the amount of like exclamation point they're using or stuff like this. So yeah, it's weird. It's really weird, honestly. Yeah.
It is. It's kind of like, we can, as humans, we understand different patterns, especially when it comes to our friends. So when we talk with them, whether it's, say we're talking or consistently texting, we're going to notice certain things about how they text. And we're going to, again, develop that kind of sixth sense. So if someone takes their phone and starts messaging us, and, maybe it might take a little bit of time, but after a while, we're going to end up figuring out something because it's like, okay, the pattern of how these messages are coming through versus how they normally come through is completely different. So being able to understand that, it does add a little bit more to it. But when it comes to trying to get to know somebody, when it comes to trying to connect with somebody, it's so
Oh
much,
yeah,
it's so difficult to do that through any kind of like online communication through text, because you're missing so much communication that's going on there. You're missing so much more of the connection that's going on there because you're not able to see how they're saying these things. You're not able to see their body language. You're not able to hear the tone. And not only that, but when it comes to text, it's these conversations. I text someone, they could text me back 2 hours later. And it's like, okay, now the conversation still has to go. And my mindset might be completely different because of what has happened to me in
yeah,
the past 2 hours. Same thing with them as well. When you're in that moment with that person, when you're actually seeing with them face to face, even though like you were on a video call and we're doing something that's very similar, it's different if you and I were in the same room doing this. It's just the
yeah,
energy.
yeah. It's all about the commitment you're putting into it too. So yeah,
Exactly. So this kind of, I mean, even with this album, like again, between me and the machine, it kind of really puts forward a lot of these different themes of connectiveness with
hmm
ourselves, with our friends, with our family, with humanity as a whole, with nature, with everything. It's really more of a thing about connectiveness in terms of like when I really listen to all these different songs, there's this sort of connectiveness there that's being talked about between you and the relationship you have with literally any other person that is in the world.
yeah, because it's like we all operate under the same how would you say, like, not principles, but like, yeah, we are all human beings. We all have like pretty much the same things inside of our bodies and the same chemicals that are making our brain react. So yeah, it's all about yeah, finding your own little way and your own little path with and connect with everyone, and hopefully yeah, make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely.
That could be, yeah, a good summary of the album. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now I got to summarize the whole entire album up like the way I normally do it because, well, again, it comes out on November 26th. And if you guys want to know my full thoughts on it, this is how I put it. I said, overall, I think this album with Resolve takes a lot and tries to get the themes and the point across and do it in many different ways. The band takes their metalcore sound and really works play around with some of those electronic influences to try and show some of the emotions around the themes of like potential love, loss, and disconnect. Again, like we were talking about with connection between you and any other person that's in the world, including yourself as well. Now, there are times they focus on the heavier side of things like they did on Seasick Sailor. We talked about with Emerald Skies to really show their base in metalcore and really hit on the heavier side of the themes. And I'm not going to lie. I talked about Seasick Sailor on the first podcast with Robin. We just talked about Emerald Skies, and I love when they go with the heavier sound. That's always my kind of thing. They also try to go with some of these more electronically focused in some of the songs like Singing to Sleep, 15 Roses, and With Love, that if you like some of the softer stuff, a little more of the electronic style, you could really definitely get into these because they have this lighter, consistent sound. The vocal mixes, for me, a little bit times they do get a little bit lost in the shuffle. However, the tone of them still ends up resonating true. However, when they mix the two together and pull out like this Architects-inspired writing style to include electronics in their metalcore, like they did on most of the album, like with Beautiful Hell, DRGGS, Between Me and the Machine, and Forever Yours, they really came out on top with Anthony's vocals clear and in the driver's seat, both clean and unclean, to really give you the power. If there's anything that you see in this album from Resolve, it's a band that can really mix a lot together. And for the future, they need to continue to keep taking these chances, because if they keep doing it, you're going to find something there that's going to absolutely blow you away with how well constructed these songs are.
Well, first off, thank you so much. And yeah, it's interesting. Like you were saying, I mean, now we've had like, and when I say we, I mean the guys in Resolve, like the album's been done for a while now, and we've been able to, well, sit on it and start to hear it maybe in a different way than we were last year when we were like finishing it, and also like seeing the first feedback from people who have heard it in its entirety. It really makes us want to, like you were saying, like pushing this. Beautiful Hell, Daggers, which is what the GGRS stands for. Yeah, I think and we think like this sort of sound maybe is what we do best among like all these things. So that really pushes us to to stick in that direction going forward. Maybe like keep on like keep all those different influences and these different kind of sounds, but try to like mesh them maybe all together into our song rather than just like do the soft song, the heavier song. Because yeah,
Yeah.
people seem to really like, and we also like are really proud of most of these songs. But like yeah, Daggers is one of our favorites. Between Me and the Machine is obviously one of our favorites. So yeah, I mean we see also when the album comes out how the people react to it and if they agree with what we think are the best tracks, because you never know, like sometimes you get caught by surprise by how well or how bad a song can like be received.
Oh
So
yeah.
we don't want to be like too ahead of ourselves here and decide early like, oh yeah, people are gonna love this, because you can't force people to love or hate something. You'd like to give it to them and you see like what they do with it, basically, like how they react to it. But that's definitely like yeah, that's where our mind is at the moment. Like let's push in this very direction going forward and see how well we can, like how much more we can refine it, pretty
Oh,
much.
absolutely. I think in the future, just continue to take those chances with all these different influences because the construction band, when you mix them both together, works really well. Now,
Thanks.
when it comes to, when you start recording stuff in the future, start writing stuff in the future, what you can do with these is you can, instead of just kind of having them as like more of an equal part, or like have this part work with this, have this part work with this, you can start to really blend them in different areas where maybe one song has more of the metalcore side, a little bit more of that lighter electronic side on top as well for the programming. Maybe flip them around, maybe have different sections of the songs that really work within each as well. You really have a lot to work off of, and it's a lot of it is based off of just the way these songs are written, the way they're constructed. You have that base there, and it's proven with those songs that really take a little bit more of the liberty in terms of mixing this all together. Now you have that base, you have that core, you have the understanding that you guys are able to pull this off, and it works really well. Now it's just time to go down that avenue, explore it even more with the ways that you guys want to
Yeah, I
explore it
mean,
with your music, and just see what happens.
yeah, and that's the first album, so hopefully we still have time to do plenty of them and just get better with every release. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're excited about writing again. We haven't done, like, I know Anthony has been writing a lot, but we really haven't done like a proper writing session together and like see, okay, so we have these demos, and I think we're gonna start doing it like probably on November 27th. Because right now the focus is on releasing the album, making sure the release goes as well as possible. But we also are very excited to start working on what's next. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, with everyone that's listening, you're going to want to make sure it's in it. So, remember, like I said earlier, you're going to want to pre order this stuff. You're going to want to pre save it. I mean, I've already done it. So, yeah, follow my lead. Pre order
Awesome.
this bad boy.
Yeah, every bit helps.
Every bit helps. So, Robin, as we bring this podcast to a conclusion, another great one with you as well. Always like to give you a chance to say anything you want to say, promote whatever you want to promote. Floor is yours, bud.
I mean, you've already done quite a lot of yeah, like I was saying, you found some really awesome like thematics some of them that we thought of, some of them that we didn't really, and that's awesome. And it's very cool to see that you seem to have enjoyed the album. I don't know, man. I feel like these days I feel like I'm pushing way too much. Like, oh yeah, Between Me and the Machine out November 26th. But really, I mean, we are so excited to get this out. It's been so long. Like, obviously the pandemic like pushed it back a bit because it would have been tough to release it like, I don't know, in the middle of 2020, even though like looking back, maybe what would have been a great thing because people didn't really had much to do. But at the same time, like, you know how it is, once the album is out, if you don't have the shows to promote it, well, what can you do? Like, you just have to
Mm-hmm.
write another one and just move on. So I'm glad that we waited. I think this is the right moment for the album to drop. I'm extremely excited to play shows next year, and like, yeah, just like for anyone that's listening and who's heard us or just said anything positive about us. I just wanted to say that it brings so much warmth to our hearts. It's like we read every single comments, we see every single comments, we get DMs all the time, and it's crazy because it's not like insane. It's not like we're doing insane numbers and like we're the biggest band in the world, far from it. But it feels like people are starting to get what we want to say, and to like just have Resolve be some like have us play a part in their life, and that feels really, really awesome. So yeah, I just want to say how grateful we are for everyone that's just given us some attention, some of their time, be it praise, be it the fans, be it people that take the time out of their day to like shoot a reaction video or just write a cool, meaningful comment. That's all we have at the moment, even though life is getting back to normal. And yeah, we just want to express how grateful we are for all of this.
I think as a closing remark, Robin, that is incredibly, incredibly well said. So
thank you.
Now
I've got my best with my broken English.
Now I've got to try and match that. So as I close out, again, 3 things, everybody. So first, when it comes to Resolve, again, Between Me and the Machines comes out on November 26th. And if this podcast, if you're a fan of Resolve, that's fantastic. If you're just becoming a fan of Resolve, hell yeah! So you're going to want to find them and follow them on all their different social platforms, right? Like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You're going to want to watch YouTube videos. You're going to want to buy some merch. You're going to want to support them everywhere they can. And of course, pre-order the album as well. Yeah, so everybody, well, if you can't find that, just look at the description of the podcast, because if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Podcast, iHeart Radio, or Amazon, just take a look at the description, because there's a thing there that says Find Resolve Online. All the links will be there for you guys. One click, one-stop shop, making it easy for you guys to get into Resolve, because you're going to want to see them play live when they do their European run in spring of 2022, whether it's their run around France, whether it's the run around Europe, or a little UK run as well. You want to make sure you're there, because, I mean, hell, hopefully I'm there for one of them. Hopefully,
yeah, I love it, man.
And now time for number 2. Well, I mean, you remember the caveat the last time. When I have bands I love having on the podcast, I always make the promise of first rounds on me. Well, this is the second time I've had you on. Have not seen you play live yet. So first rounds on me turns into first 2 rounds on me.
No. I can't let that happen. Because, I mean, first one might be on me, and we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll make it even.
Well, I'm making sure there's 2 rounds on me. How about that?
I mean, I'm sure there will be two rounds anyway, at the very least.
At the very least. All right, Robin. Well, once again, thank you for being on the podcast. Once again, Between Me and the Machines comes out on November 26th. And Robin, whether it's seeing you on the podcast again the next time or seeing you play a live show, hopefully in 2022, if hopefully get over to Europe, hopefully everything works out well. This cannot be goodbye, man. This can't be goodbye. This has to be.
No, I'm sure.
See you later, bud.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for everything.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Robin from the band Resolve. Once again, Between Me and the Machine comes out on November 26th of 2021. You can find Resolve in the description of the podcast, well, online with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all their social medias, YouTube, website where you can buy some merch, where you can pre-order the album, you can pre-save it, all that good stuff. Please support these guys if you like metalcore. And I mean, again, they take some chances on here, and it shows that when it comes to constructions, when they really take those chances and really mix in more of this electronic programming stuff with their metalcore style, it really does work. I can't wait to see what they do in the future, but you guys are going to want to check this album out as well to really get into Resolve. Again, Robin, thank you once again, and when it comes that time, man, hopefully 2022, I'll be over in Europe. Make sure you check out a show, everybody, if you're going to be in Europe in the spring of 2022, because I'm going to try and be there, see Resolve play live at least once. When it comes to us, again, we are Chord Progression Podcast by the MSOTD Rocks. MSOTD Rocks is going to be a thing for another 2 months until the beginning of 2022, and all of a sudden, everything on socials is going to be changed over to just Chord Progression Podcast. So you can find links to our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already done so. And I want to thank, again, the brand new sponsor that we have, Custom Debuts, for sponsoring this podcast. Check them out. See if you like anything they got when it comes to some customizable stuff. Remember, you get 10% off your order using CPP10 at checkout. So, link description below for that as well. And on that note, that is going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to MSOT Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single episode with a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!